Hello and welcome to ModB.com's Stanislaus Football Weekly, an inside look at all things football in the Modesto area. And now for your hosts, Joe Cortez and Brian VanderBeek.
Hi everybody and welcome to Stanislaus Football Weekly for the final week of the regular season. Here we are. It always zooms by so quickly, and 10, 11 weeks in.
Is this called Week 10?
It's Week 10.
It is
Week
officially
10A, I think.
We started at week 0, and now we're Week 10.
The pairings are going to be released Saturday for every team that makes it into the Sac Joaquin section playoffs. But we've had some news come down in the last week or two, something we've thought about but has never happened before. Since this went to this format in 2009, the section has never had a 6-win team not make the playoffs. Well, let's come down, as people start to crunch these numbers, it becomes very apparent that this year there will be a 6-win, at least one 6-win team, probably multiple 6-win teams that are going to be left out, including one that we'll get to right here in Modesto. Currently, going into this last weekend, 54 teams have 6 wins in hand. Most of those teams still playing this weekend. There are 20 more teams with 5. And in addition to that, there's always 1 or 2 5-and-5 teams that are automatic qualifiers because they finish first or second in their league. So there are going to be 6-win teams that are going to be left out. So we'll look at that a little bit more in more depth here. But as some background, to get into the playoffs, every conference comes up with its first 2 seeds, and those teams are automatically seeded into the tournament. And then the at-large berths are determined according to those seeds, plus the number of wins it gets, plus the strength of schedule, which is determined solely by the number of opponents' wins. Now, we can argue until the lights go down whether that's fair or not, whether, for instance, Ripon High is going to get 8 or 9 points in its strength of schedule for its victory over Ripon Christian, where had it played a team in the lower half like a Turlock and lost, it would only gotten, or even won, would have only gotten 4 points. So, you can argue either way whether that's fair, but bottom line is
what it is.
It is what it is. That's the way they do it. I spoke with a former B staffer and current section spokesman Will DeBoard about this today, and he looks like they're crunching numbers. It looks like a strength of schedule somewhere around 42, 43 is going to be the cutoff line as to whether you're going to get in or not. And we have teams whose seasons are done who are below that number. So let's look right now just at the teams that we know are in. We're going to assume that 7 wins is going to get you in. I think we're going to be safe. We have 8 teams right now with 7 or more wins. We have Ripon, Hilmar, and Patterson at 9. Central Catholic, Manteca, and Amador at 8. Merced and Calaveras with 7. They're in. Like I said, start printing the tickets and ordering the hot dogs for the playoffs because you're going to be in. Now we have a lot of other teams, actually 8 teams with 6 wins. And we'll see which of these are in, which are on the bubble. We have Pittman, Modesto, Pacheco, Downey, Bayer, Houston, Sierra, and Gregory. 5 wins, teams with 5 wins who need to win this week to get to that 6-win, not so magical 6-win barrier. There's 8 teams there. Escalon, Modesto Christian, Atwater, Central Valley, Las Banos, Oakdale, Argonaut, and Turlock. Now, breaking these down further, and you're looking at their strength of schedule numbers, basically the way I look at it, if you're at 5 wins right now, if you're one of these teams at 5 wins and you win this week, your strength of schedule, the way it breaks down, you're going to be in. And I think it almost becomes that simple. But where it really gets interesting, like we mentioned before, is with these 6-win teams, because there are 6-win teams in trouble, starting with including a team that's in a lot of trouble right now that's still practicing, that I don't think is going to practice after Saturday, and that's Gregory.
Gregory's in trouble. Their number is 34.
Yeah.
Their opponents have won 34 games. That's well below the 42, 43 cutoff line. And if you look at their potential for more points, they're going to get 3 from the MMC.
Right.
They possibly get 1 if Chavez of Stockton wins. If Central Valley if Ceres upsets Central Valley.
That would be 1.
I don't think there's any way Bear Creek upsets Tracy.
Right.
And Liberty Ranch, one of their opponents this year, has a bye. They're not going to play.
Right.
That number's not going to change. At best, they're going to get 5 points.
So
at the very best. and that puts them at 39, still well below the 42, 43 cutoff line. They're in big trouble.
Yeah, they're in big trouble. Another team in big trouble is Houston, a team that we had near the top of the rankings.
The TVL favorite going in.
TVL favorite going in. They're at 40, and that's even with the 10 points they're going to pick up this week by playing Hillmar.
By playing Hillmar.
They pick up 10 points in 1 week by playing at Hillmar. They're losing to Hillmar. Hillmar with 10 wins. Houston gets 10 points from that, which is going to bring them to 40 or 41. Again, other teams in the TVL are going to win, and they could get up to 42, 43. Very, very much a bubble team. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, this puts a lot of onus on that Downey Bayer game, right?
Absolutely.
We think that Downey will be on the bubble if they lose, right?
Right.
We think.
Well, even more on
Bayer.
Bayer is even more on the
Bayer
bubble.
even more so on the
Right.
bubble
With a loss.
with a loss.
Right. We have Downey at right around 43 points right now, and Bayer at 40. A team that they both have 6 wins, so the winner of this game is going to be in.
Goes to 7.
Goes to 7 is going to be in. A losing team here is going to be, again, going to have to really sweat it out until those seedings come out on Saturday. Another team we need to mention here is Pacheco with 6 wins but 42 points. Now Pacheco, Los Banos, Pacheco's going to be favored to beat Los Banos in this game. They'd get to 7 and then would be in the playoffs. But let's break this down. That's a lot. I know that's a lot of information and a lot of numbers. Let's break this down further, league by league, maybe simplify it a little bit. Starting with the MMC, because we talked here on this table just a couple weeks ago that it looked like the MMC was going to get 4 teams in the playoffs, and now it looks like they could get as few as 2.
Yes.
With this 6-win bombshell. Modesto's in. The Bayer Downey winner is going to be in as the number 2 team in the automatic. Like we said, Downey's on the bubble with a loss.
Yeah.
Bayer's probably out or on the bubble with a loss. And as we mentioned, if the section's saying that there's going to be a 6-win team that's going to be left out, of all the 6-win teams in the entire section, Grigori has the worst strength of schedule, again, as determined by the number of wins from its opponents. So Grigori, congratulations on a winning season. It might be time to pack up the pads there.
Now the MMC there's a 3-way tie for first right now in the MMC, right, Brian?
Mm-hmm.
And there's, Modesto is heavily favored to beat Johansson.
Right.
We think they're going to do that, and then that's going to leave Downey and Bayer to go at the share of the title, and with playoff repercussions there.
Right.
So, provocative ending coming up in the MMC.
Absolutely.
That'll
That
be
game could
lovely.
be lose or leave town right there.
It really could. The CCC, Merced and Pittman are in. By my calculations, Atwater's going to be in if it beats Buhack in the Bloss Bowl. Turlock's going to get in if it wins the Harvest Bowl, which is really iffy, because both would have 6 wins and strength of schedules of 50 plus. And here's another calculation here. If Turlock beats Pittman and Buhack beats Atwater, Buhack would get in as a 5-win automatic qualifier.
That's the number 2 seed. They would get in as a 5-5.
And we mentioned, and that's going to knock off another 6-win team.
6-win team.
And these are things that can happen up and down the section in this last. So we're speculating a lot here over 6-win teams that may or may not get out, but we don't know how many 5-win teams up in the north part of the section are going to be automatic qualifiers.
This sounds like the NCAA tournament.
It
now.
does.
It does.
With some obscure league, an upset champion
right.
of the league
MEAC.
knocks off
right.
another team.
That's right.
Yeah.
Look out for
Keep
those.
somebody out.
Look out for those double directionals. That's right. Moving on to the Valley Oak League, Manteca is in.
Is in.
Oakdale would get the number 2 seed with a win over Sonora.
Yes.
Sierra gets to 7 wins if it beats Weston Ranch. Now all that seems pretty cut and dried. If Sierra, which has been a very strong team all year, happens to stumble and lose to Weston Ranch is going to come at you with a lot of athletes and nothing to lose because they're not going anywhere. If Weston Ranch pulls off that upset, Sierra's strength of schedule coming in at about 37
Yeah.
is very, very low. It's going to pick up some points this weekend, but basically this is a playoff game for Sierra. It needs to be Weston Ranch. It probably
And
should.
I think Sierra will.
They're
Probably
going to
should.
win that game, I'm pretty sure, Brian.
Yeah. Moving along to the WAC, Patterson and Central Catholic are in and play each other this week for the league's number 1 seed. The Pacheco Los Banos winner is going to be in. If Pacheco loses to Los Banos, It's on the bubble because it's sitting right there at about 42 points. And again, we're speculating as to where that's going to be, but that's right on the bubble. Central Valley, if it beats Ceres, by my calculations, Central Valley at 46 points is going to be in.
Which means a playoff game for our man.
Jaquan. Yeah, and good for them. And I'll talk a little bit more about Central Valley later in my final point. I don't want to give it away here, but moving along to the Trans Valley League, Hillmar and Ripon are in. Ripon's done at 9-1. Hillmar at 9-0. Escalon and Modesto Christian should be heavily favored in their games this week. They're both going to be in with wins. Houston, 6 wins and 40 points, and finishes, like we mentioned before, finishes with Hillmar. If it wins, it's going to be in with its 7th victory. If it loses, 40 points. Houston may be one of those 6-win teams out after being the preseason favorite. And wow.
That should give you an example of how tough the TVO was this season.
Yes.
Very front-loaded there at the top. It was very competitive. Hillmar clearly came out on top, though, this year.
Yeah. In the Mother Lode League, Calaveras and Amador are both in. Calaveras is going to get in as the league champ, or at least the #1 seed out of there. Amador and Argonaut play in their annual rivalry to finish the season. And if Argonaut pulls off that upset, Argonaut's going to get in as the #2 seed out of the Mother Lode League. At 5 wins, another 5-win team. As it's a long shot, but that's a rivalry game, and it can go either way up there. If Argonaut wins over Amador, the Mother Lode League is going to get 3. If not, then it's just going to be Calaveras and Amador. So you got all that. There's going to be a test, and
that wasn't much to take in one swoop here, was it?
Well, we're speculating now as we tape this on a Wednesday, but come Saturday evening when all of this is finally hashed out, and then Sunday when it's published in the Bee and online, it's all going to be crystal clear who's in, who's out, who's preparing, and who's packing away the pads.
Mm-hmm.
Let's turn to this week's games, and we've got some doozies. Let's talk a little bit about these games and who we like to win, starting with Patterson Central Catholic.
That's a game I'm going to be doing, Brian.
Yeah.
And I have not seen Patterson this year. This will be a pretty good matchup there, but I kind of like Central Catholic in the game. They've had a pretty strong season, and I expect Central to come out on top here.
Everybody I've talked to, I've gotten 3 or 4 scouting reports on these teams from people who have played them both. And it's pretty much unanimous. Patterson has more athletic ability, but Central's just much bigger.
Yeah.
And I think in the end, Central's size will probably wear down Patterson. I usually like to favor speed at the high school level.
Right.
Speed kills, but Central's got a lot of athletes too.
Yeah.
They're talented. I think Central's size carries the day in this one ultimately.
Yeah, Patterson's going to have to throw the ball a lot to win this game, and when you have to throw the ball, it leads to mistakes, like the old ball coach used to say. 3 things can happen when you throw the ball, and two of them are bad. And I like the fact for Central Catholic that this is on their turf. It's on grass instead of the speedy field over at Community Stadium in Patterson, and for that reason I like Central Catholic in this game also.
And I like Central Catholic secondary. They go after the ball aggressively, and that could lead to some interceptions. Patterson does have to throw.
There's going to be some size matchups back there that's Central Catholic is going to have to address. I see them playing more two deep and more zone rather than the man-to-man they usually play back there.
And Roger Canepa told me earlier this week that they're 100%. They're healthy.
Yeah.
I shouldn't say 100%. Everybody's dinged up at this time of year, but they're about as healthy as they're going to be. The Bland brothers are back, and their big guard. I can't remember his name. No. Yes. He's back.
Yeah. Well, we'll move to the battle for the #2 seed, what eventually will be the #2 seed in the MMC, Bayer versus Downey at Grigori, and that not only will be my first chance to see Bayer, but my first chance to see a game at Grigori High. I haven't been there yet.
Fun venue, Brian.
That's right. I'll get in shape for the walk from the parking lot, and
it's not that bad.
No, we make a lot of jokes about that, but it's not bad. It's not going to be bad.
It's been a nice addition to the MMC. That new venue.
For sure.
At Grigori. It has.
My gosh, 7 high schools and only 2 fields. We had that's been a lot of Thursday nights out at Downey.
Oh, isn't that the truth?
But it's good to see, and this should be a game.
do you?
Yeah, I like the Thursday game. I didn't think it was that bad.
Okay. Okay.
I hated the Thursday game. Covering them wasn't fine. I actually enjoyed covering them, but the whole idea that if, have a football team playing on a Thursday, that means that they're thinking about the game all day Thursday, and then they go to class Friday. If they go to class Friday, they're so beat up to be thinking about it. It just, academically, it's not a good idea to play games on Thursday. Also, the crowds weren't ever really good on Thursdays.
That is true.
Bayer versus Downey. I haven't seen Bayer, and I saw Downey about 3 or 4 weeks ago. How am I going to choose? Flip a coin, Bayer. I really don't know here.
I've seen Bayer the last 2 weeks. Saw them beat Grigori 2 weeks ago. Good ball game. Saw them lose a very nice game last week against Modesto. Bayer plays with a lot of energy, a lot of spirit. Really like the makeup of their team under Bill Flesher. And I've seen Downey once earlier in the season, losing to Central Catholic. This is going to be a very competitive game, and I'm not sure how it's going to turn out. I'm going to lean a little toward Bayer. I kind of like I like the way they're playing right now. Coming back from 28-0 down against Modesto said a lot about the makeup of the Bayer team. They still lost the game 28-21. But it was close at the end, and it says something to the makeup of their team. So I'm going to go with Bayer in a close game.
I'm going to go with Downey in a close game. I like the way Downey's playing lately. I think Bayer's playing well, but I really like the way Downey's playing lately. They've got their quarterback situation resolved.
Which is a big deal at Downey.
Right. Right. And, it's interesting. Modesto High being a spread team, it gives each of these teams a little look into what's in store this week. Downey gets to see how Bayer defended a spread team. And Bayer, of course, gets, they watch the film from last week, their film from last week, and kind of have an idea what Downey would like to do. There's some subtle differences, but it's it does give each side kind of a clue as to what to expect. I'm going to go with Downey.
Let's move into the big game in the Southern League. It's the game of this year's game of the century in the Southern League.
Game of the century.
That's right. LeGrand.
Our third game of the century.
LeGrand at Ripon Christian. That game's going to be played at Ripon High. I'm going to go with the Knights at home. I mean, they won last year in LeGrand.
They did.
And I don't know. I just think they're going to do it again.
I've seen neither of these teams. This is a game of pedigree with LeGrand versus a great player at Ripon Christian and Andrew Brown. I know you're looking forward to watching him play.
I am. I'll be there. Can't wait.
I will flip a coin here and go with LeGrand in a pretty close game.
I'm going to have to flip a coin too. I've seen neither. We're going to have to go to the old comparative scores route.
Dangerous game.
But I like to live dangerously.
Yes, you do, Joe.
You do eat that stuff at those stadiums.
That's right. The Portuguese corn dog.
As you pointed out, Ripon Christian did win this game last year. I think they match up well. But I'm going to side with LeGrand's defense here. I think they're going to be able to limit what Ripon Christian does, and I think they close it out and go 10-0.
Well, let's move on to the Harvest Bowl. Pittman-Turlock. Pittman.
Pittman. I love the Harvest Bowl. I've covered a couple of them. Great atmosphere down there on Harvest Bowl night. They've really figured out how to put that game on there in Turlock, and it's a wonderful night. If you want to go watch a real competitive football game, that's the place to go. If you want to see some real high school spirit, a big-time atmosphere, go there to Begley Stadium and watch the game. I'll go with Pittman, though.
Pittman's definitely favored, but I'm going to take a pot shot and go with Turlock. I got on them last week. They were my big disappointment of the season. After starting out 4-0.
You spanked them.
Well, I don't think I spanked them, but I did kind of call them out, and they answered with a really impressive victory over UHAC Colony.
Yes.
And they need this win. They have to win. They have to get that second league win, because you don't get into the playoffs with fewer than 2 league wins.
That's right.
None of that 6-win, 5-win, 7-win stuff matters without two league wins. They have 1 league win right now. They need this game. Pittman it's an arch rival. Pittman's going to be motivated, but they don't need it as bad as Turlock. I say the Bulldogs.
Yeah, it's strange. Pittman, when this Harvest Bowl first started,
Yeah.
Pittman dominated.
Pittman dominated.
Normally, you don't see the new school doing that.
That is against the grain.
That's right.
Something to do with Colin Kaepernick, perhaps. Anthony Harding.
It might.
Yeah.
It might. The Bloss Bowl. Atwater Buhack. I've seen neither team. I got to go with Buhack in this one. Atwater's been playing well and need it very badly.
Mm-hmm.
Something just tells me that Buhack's defense is going to step up and slow Atwater down.
Okay. I too have seen neither of these teams. Atwater's played some pretty good football under the radar this year.
Mm-hmm.
I think Buhack's going to take this game. Joe?
I think Buhack will probably take this game. I think it's going to be a really good one, though. Atwater, like you said, has been flying under the radar. They played Merced really tough. Buhack, I think they'll bounce back off last week's loss to Turlock.
Final points, Joe.
Well, I was going to point out that I was going to give kudos to Turlock for making me eat my words a little bit last week. I did want to clarify one thing. The series Central Valley game this week is called the Crosstown Showdown.
Crosstown
So
Showdown.
we kind of fumbled that one around a little bit. And then, of course, to update the Andrew Brown-Jaquan Gardner race, Andrew Brown has 2,034 yards for the season. Jaquan has 1,769. So it's a little more than 250. The Brown's ahead of him for the single season race.
Right.
In the all-time race, Jaquan, well, they both broke the record last week. Jaquan finished, he now has 5,316. Brown has 5,162, a difference of 154. It'll be really fascinating to see if Jaquan can maintain that lead or if Andrew makes a deep run into the playoffs and catches him.
Well, and this week's games make a difference, too, because if Central Valley beats Ceres, Jaquan Gardner's going to get an extra game.
Gets that playoff game.
And if Ripon Christian beats LeGrand, that's going to cost Ripon Christian, well,
Ripon
it cost
Christian
them.
gets a bye.
They get a bye. I don't want to say it costs them a playoff game. I mean, it'd be a very great honor to win the Southern League, and I'm sure they want to win. But the bottom line, as far as this rushing race is concerned, is that would cost, Andrew Brown a game.
Some time on the field, absolutely.
Yeah, if that's your goal, but I'm sure they've got bigger goals, bigger goals than that.
But still, it'll be fun to watch it play out.
Yeah. Well, my final point, I want to mention Central Valley and Jaquan Gardner. I had a chance to see their game the other night against Los Banos, and we always saw were just reports from Central Valley as the season went along. Playing some good games, playing some bad games. Central Valley played as complete a game as I've seen any team play this season in their victory against Los Banos. Los Banos, they beat them 35-7. Los Banos scored very easily on its first drive, and that was it. And then Central Valley just took over and took over. Passed when it needed to. We spent so much time on Central Valley talking about Jaquan and everything he's doing. This is the Hawks are much more than Jaquan Gardner, and showed it and showed me that they're a legitimate and probably deserving playoff team. Very impressed by them last week in their victory over Los Banos.
Okay.
Got a final point for us?
I got one more point. We're not going to cure cancer with this one today, but I wanted to bring up something about a rule that's being enforced in the Sac Joaquin section this year, banning cannons that you use to celebrate touchdowns. That's been many schools in the section have used those. I can think of Central Catholic or Stimba, Ripon High with that big gun. That rule has been in the books, banning that for quite a few years now. It's being enforced now by the section. I think the section ruled last month to enforce that rule. It was a close vote. There was people on both sides of that. I think this is a solution in search of a problem. I see no problem with cannons. There have been no issues with neighbors being alarmed by this. This is complaints, and this have been coming mostly from the northern portion of the section, from schools who don't like touchdowns being scored not by them and having the cannon go off in their face. Apparently that's it. anything that detracts from the spirit and the
Right.
and the atmosphere of Friday night football, especially something as harmless as this, it takes away from the game, and it's not good. I see no harm with that with Cannon. So I have a hunch this is a fluid situation. Leagues might even overrule on this down the road here, maybe next year. Well, this will be a to be continued thing, but this shouldn't be an issue really.
Bring back cannons.
Bring back cannons.
Somewhere along the ways, they might have scared a fairy shrimp or a tiger salamander.
Oh God!
And-
Kit Fox.
That's right.
A kit fox.
Remember the
yeah.
kit foxes?
Yes.
That's right. So yeah, but yeah. So Ron had the rant this week.
My turn for the rant, Joe. Your turn next week for the rant.
Find something to rant about.
I'll get PO'd about something.
Okay.
There we go. There you go.
Count on it.
Well, that's it for Stanislaus Football Weekly for the final week of the regular season, going into playoffs after this week. But like we mentioned, we've got a lot of good games this week. So for Joe Cortez and Ron Agostini, I'm Brian VanderBeek. Go out and watch one of these football games.